Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is a brand new conversation with the Sanjay Jha, the OG, ex-Congress spokesperson. How are you?
I'm doing cool, Aabir. Lovely to see you again after a gap, and I can notice your beard has grown, and you're looking like a rock star, man.
Yeah.
Look
We
like
should start a podcast together. We'll be bald and beautiful. It's for the audience to decide who's bald and who's beautiful, but yeah.
Well, let me tell you, every time I tell my wife that we are like the beauty and the beast, it's assumed that I'm the beauty.
So true. So true. Let's start. And five phases of the general elections have recently, people have contested, people have fought their seat. How do you see the first five phases panning out, and what kind of is there an upset again for the India Alliance or for the BJP NDA? How do you see these five phases rolling out?
Aabir, I'll try and keep my answers brief so that we can have more of a conversation and a back and forth. My sense is that you are headed for a pretty spectacular result on June 4th. So I'm going to tell all the viewers of your very popular podcast, keep your popcorn ready. I mean, sit there, and just kind of confabulate and, have your animated conversations, especially if the family is polarized like the rest of the country. And a lot of families today are polarized, where in fact you find that, people are split down the middle, even in a dining room. But I think you're going to head for a surprising result. And to answer your question in brief, I sense that the India Alliance has got the tailwind in its favor. And the last two phases will probably be even more overwhelming in its support. You see, what happens, Aabir, is once the perception gets around, right, that one party or one alliance is doing well, those who have remained on the borderline or those who have remained quiet, the silent voter, they begin to become a lot more expressive. Of course, I mean, there's no denying that the BJP is a tough competitor in any circumstances. And especially after all the hype and hoopla over 370 and 400 Paar and all that, many people had begun to believe that story at the beginning of the election. It was what I call is a lot of psychological manipulation. What Mr. Modi and the BJP did was, the right word would be gaslighting, making people believe in a surreal fantasy that this election was done and dusted. But as things have proven, a week, as Harold Wilson famously said, is a long time in politics.
Okay. If you are talking about, let's go into the numbers. If not 400 Paar, how much do you think that BJP will be able to get inside its kitty?
Interesting question, Aabir. I mean, on a broader level, and once again, I'm not trying to be here, like a Congress
sympathizer of Congress, and just give me a view, whatever you feel is the correct number.
Exactly. I want to be very dispassionate. There is no denying that I am convinced internally that the BJP and its model of ideological thinking or its political business model is frankly very anti the Indian constitution, but we can discuss that later. My personal belief is that BJP is losing a lot of seats in Karnataka. It is not making any significant penetration in the southern part of India. Probably in Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, I see the BJP increasing its numbers. So yes, it will go up in Andhra because of its alliance partner TDP. And in Telangana, I think the Congress will gain more, but the BJP will also gain at the expense of the BRS in Telangana. But in Karnataka, they're going to lose, and they're going to lose quite a few seats. In Maharashtra, where I live, Aabir, I think you're headed for some very stunning revelations here. Because I think the public anger with the whole, the BJP splitting NCP and Shiv Sena, I don't think that's gone down very well. That's not gone down well at all. Plus, there are fundamental challenges of the reservation that the Marathas were talking about. The OBCs are unhappy. There has been rural distress. And the fact that a lot of businesses have moved out of Maharashtra to Gujarat. I don't think this has gone down well across the board. So in Maharashtra, which I think is like a precursor or a bellwether of what the national mood is, it's neither north nor south. It's in the central part of India. It's a very cosmopolitan, multicultural microcosm of India. There's a message coming from Maharashtra. And I think that should worry the BJP significantly. I also see the BJP not doing well at least not as well, in Rajasthan, in Madhya Pradesh, and in Chhattisgarh. Uh, Bihar probably maybe more, I would say, will not swing too much against the BJP because it's really a singular battle being fought by Tejasvi, who's doing an outstanding job. But whether the Tejasvi Congress will be able to pull off 20, 25 seats, that remains a little up in the air. Uttar Pradesh, once again, I think looks like the big surprise packet along with Maharashtra. Now, if you add Uttar Pradesh and Maharashtra, between them, there are 128 Lok Sabha seats. In 48, the BJP is struggling. And in the 80 that they had assumed that they were going to sail through, I think they're facing some extremely strong headwinds, which leaves behind West Bengal. And I keep coming back to West Bengal. BJP's big bet, Aabir, is West Bengal, which is why, Sandesh, Khali and others, if you notice, they have gone absolutely ballistic. End of day, I think it's been a very explosive and a very dangerously combustible environment there socially. But again, the feedback that I'm getting is that at best, the BJP will retain its 18. It might come down. It's not crossing the 18 for sure. So the question that arises is that if the BJP is going to lose seats in Maharashtra, Karnataka, not do well in South enough, may do well a bit in Odisha and in Telangana, flat in Andhra, struggle in Haryana, in Punjab. I don't see them doing well at all. Probably they will lose seats in Delhi. You can tell me more about it. In Himachal, I think Congress will pick up a few seats. Uttar Pradesh with 80 seats going. I think if BJP comes down to even 10, 15 there, which looks very likely, really, how does BJP compensate for that fall? So, I wrote a long article on it. And my firm conviction, to just kind of cut to the chase, is that the BJP will probably come down to anywhere in the range of 220 to 230 seats.
And this is specifically BJP, not the NDA.
The BJP. And I'm glad you asked that question, Aabir. Look at the NDA, right? What really is the NDA? Technically, the BJP has 38 parties, which looks like a staggering number, right? But the numbers, if you look at the number of parties there, they're like pretty much, they're like people who can consolidate the vote for the NDA. They're not like going to win seats for the NDA.
Right.
The winners or the potential of those who can do well is TDP in Andhra, the NCP Ajit Pawar and Eknath Shinde in Maharashtra, who I can tell you are struggling big time. If these two factions, the Shiv Sena, the Nakli, I call it the Nakli Shiv Sena, the Nakli NCP, if they manage to pick up some seats, good for them. They will, but they won't be doing anything major. It is left to the BJP to do the heavy lifting in Maharashtra. And you have JDU in Bihar and the LJP in Bihar, who, by the way, between the two of them, they want to, actually target each other and, make sure that the other one's wings are clipped. So bottom line, it's all left to the BJP to get the numbers. If the BJP comes down below 250, I really don't know where the balance 22 seats are going to come from if they are at 250. And I can tell you they are not likely to get there. I see the BJP wrapping up at around 220 to 230. And the rest of the partners will probably add a few more numbers. And therefore, I want to say that unless something dramatically changes, it is very much on the cards as we talk that the India Alliance is heading to cause a big upset of 2024. To use a cliche, this looks like history repeating itself. It's a repeat of 2004, India shining.
Since you spoke about Bihar and you mentioned that it's not going to be a very significant dip in the BJP's share of votes and share of seats. My question to you is, when you see Nitish Kumar leading the front in particularly Bihar, and he has been shuttling here and there, and there is a public perception, a lot of memes on the social media, a lot of conversations in the media room, in the television channels, where you see that Nitish Kumar is just jumping from here and there. Do you think that's going to cause a dent to the NDA's share of votes and particularly seats?
Aabir, it will. I'm telling you that firstly, there's anti-incumbency, right, against the current state government. And also the central government, I don't think has been looked upon as being a great beneficiary of the people of Bihar because, people were expecting a special status for the state. And frankly, BJP has been very opportunistic. So both the JDU and the BJP technically don't have a great brand image for themselves. So the entire election, as always, is about, can Narendra Modi turn the story in their favor? You're absolutely right that in Bihar, there have been some serious challenges. The economy has flattered to deceive. It really has. It is still on the bottom of the parameter on many social and economic indices. So where does the confidence for them come from? I think largely, one is that Tejasvi has swung the story through his hard work, through the employment story that he's very focused on job creation. And he's coming across as the new age leader, although he comes from the traditional RJD, a very family-based party. He's breathing in a lot of fresh air.
And he comes with the baggage as well.
It's a baggage, but remember the baggage over a period of time is also part of history, right? You can't afford to, for example, hold somebody to something that he cannot do anything about, right? So end of the day, I think people have moved on. Their current predicament is that they are not happy with Nitish. Nobody's happy with Nitish. I think JDU is probably at its November or December of its political career at the moment. And Nitish in all probability will become obsolescent after the Loksabha elections are over. But I feel that can the RJD Congress take advantage of it? The key question is, can they take advantage of it? Now, I look at Tejasvi from the point of view in terms of his spirit, his energy, the passion. He's operating at an extraordinary level. Don't forget, he's struggling with a back problem. So he's going to many places on a wheelchair. Right? I mean, that tells you the kind of, brio and vigor with which he's campaigning. It is going to help the RJD Congress combine. But you see, it's a big state. 40 seats is big. True. And my problem is the size of Bihar and the complexity of its dynamics will make it difficult for RJD and Congress to benefit as much as it would like to. Okay. So therefore, although the RJD and Congress will do well, it may not end up doing as well given the fact that the Congress is not so strong in Bihar. And in UP, although the Congress had just one seat, but there is this whole legacy of the Gandhi family and the whole, the political narrative is determined, right? You know how much we talked about Raebareli and Amethi. Yeah. So I feel in Bihar, they will do well, but they could do better. And I just hope that they're able to make up for that, but they may not. That's my apprehension.
Okay, so I won't talk much about Raebareli and Amethi because it has been done and no point in discussing that. Let's go 2-3 months back in time. What do you think has worked well for India Alliance and what has worked well for BJP NDA and worked well as didn't work? Whatever you want to comment on each of them.
Aabir, let me compliment you. You're one of the best interviewers. You know how I judge a great interviewer or an anchor? No, I'll tell you why. Because nowadays I deal with anchors who talk more than the panelist who's called. I mean, they set the stage for the entire panel discussion. Anyway, you know it and I know it, so let's not talk about it. But you're doing a smart thing.
You have to step into a newsroom after some time. Don't worry. You will be sitting on those in those TV screens in few days. The moment the exit polls are out, the moment that from 1st of June, you will be there on every TV screens. So
that doesn't matter, but you got to call a spade, man. I mean, a lot of them can learn from you, okay?
Makes sense.
And so here is what I'm going to say.
Yes.
I think the political arrogance of the BJP is going to cost it huge. Always remember this, Aabir. Parties come down because of their arrogance. India's shining 2004 was the Vajpayee government's hubris in believing that, we have delivered 8% GDP for 1 year and that's good enough to win the election. The Janta said, Tata, goodbye. Even the Congress in 2014 was guilty of underestimating the impact of Narendra Modi. Everybody thought he's a Gujarat chief minister, not a very big state. It just makes a lot of hype and hoopla about himself. He's got that humongous baggage of the Gujarat 2002 riots. How is he going to appeal to a more plural and secular country or the liberals? He did. He got through with that. The BJP has committed harakiri. For example, Mr. Modi and the BJP thought, if you look at his big speeches, 370, 400. He said them when the Pran Pratishtha ceremony was on. They believed that that emotive issue was enough to make them win the election. And that arrogance led them to arresting Arvind Kejriwal, harassing all the opposition leaders, Hemant Soren. BJP became officially known as not as a political party, as the washing machine of this country. I mean, today, if you say washing machine, people will say BJP. They won't say LG, Samsung, or Bosch. The first thing they will say is BJP. I mean, that's the kind of branding they have got today. And that, by the way, is like going on a suicide mission. And end of day, the bread and butter issues came to the front. Don't forget, around the same time with the Supreme Court calling the electoral bond unconstitutional, it led to a can of worms coming out. Crony capitalism, criminality, corruption, extortion, illegality, opaqueness in all political funding. I mean, you saw it all. And I think all these factors combine to take the sheen away from the BJP completely. And I think it brought the focus down as to, listen, you've been in government for 10 years. What have you done? Why don't you campaign on what you've done? And I think the BJP, instead of focusing on whatever it believes it has done, it actually went into some kind of a insane overdrive against the opposition and later on the Congress. And what it did was, it got exposed because bread and butter issues like unemployment, inflation, development, farmer distress, MSMEs became center stage. And then when the Congress party came up with a very socially and economically friendly manifesto, talking about giving, the MSP to the farmers, increasing the minimum wage for every worker in India, providing a minimum wage for Manrega, a guaranteed rupees 1 lakh for the young, for the youth, who are unemployed for the first year, and providing in that Mahalakshmi scheme 1 lakh for women.
And
Mr.
You
Modi
missed one point, snatching the Mangal Sutras.
And then Mr. Modi gets into this, machli, mutton, Mangal Sutra, and मेरे भैंस को कोई चुरा के ले जाएगा. I kept saying, Modi ji, मेरे भैंस को डंडा क्यों मारा Modi ji? And then he went on a trip. Yeah. Then he goes on to say कि the Congress will put a lock, a Babri lock on the Ram temple. I mean, this is the Prime Minister of this country. I mean, the other day he made a statement. It was ridiculous. It was not just outrageous, it was obtuse. He said that in the Prime Minister's house, the opposition will call terrorists and give them biryani. This is Mr. Modi. I mean, he may be an outgoing Prime Minister, but he's still the Prime Minister. You got to, the position has a certain stature here. It's sacrosanct. It's consecrated. There are certain do's and don'ts of an august office. And I think all this tells you there's a lot of panic within the BJP. And I think Mr. Modi's utterances, I don't think they have just embarrassed his party. I think even as a citizen of this country, and I may be his opponent, but I'm concerned. Yeah. Why should the Prime Minister be making such ridiculous, vituperative, vicious, venomous, blatant lies?
I love your optimism when you say that he may be an outgoing Prime Minister. Let me
tell you, Aabir. Let me tell you, in politics, boss, आशावादी होना अनिवार्य है. Because if you are not optimistic, you're never going to win an election, right? True. So you enter a fight to win. You're not entering there to just be in a contest. I do believe the story has turned. And to cut it short, I will just say that was a trigger. And I think thereafter, there is a momentum in favor of the India Alliance. And I believe in the last 2 rounds, the India Alliance probably will gain even more.
Okay. If, for example, I am not committing any number, I am not talking about from anybody's point of anybody's POV, but let's assume on 4th of June, we see that India Alliance gets majority of the seats. Then the biggest question of the country is, who becomes the Prime Minister? There is a lot of Chinese whisper here and there. You are one of the insiders. You are, if not an insider, you are at least in the closed circuit of the India Alliance. How do you think that's going to pan out?
Well, Abir, to be very frank with you, I know that, some of the viewers of your program may not agree, but I am very clear that after hearing Mr. Modi's speeches and after seeing a 10-year performance where there is so much of hype, people don't even trust the data of this government, the GDP numbers are suspect. Even if I take the numbers at face value, India has grown by just 5.9% over 10 years, 4.2% over 5 years, and the agrarian distress, the record joblessness. I feel anybody will make a better prime minister than Mr. Modi. So I think the problem for the India Alliance is going to be the problem of plenty. Mr. Kharge could be a prime minister. Rahul Gandhi could be a prime minister. I think Mr. Uddhav Thackeray can be a candidate. There can be anybody. I'm just thinking aloud that if you think about it, the prime minister in this country cannot ever be run by just one person. I mean, that's been the problem where this government is concerned. A lot of people say, right, that everything has been very centralized and in control of just Mr. Shah and Mr. Modi. And even BJP cabinet ministers are like trembling and nervous, and everything is done after the PMO gives it a sign of approval. So I feel, Abir, that frankly, anybody from the India Alliance will make a better prime minister because the team is going to be good. I think the team will have a talent from the Congress. It'll have talent from the Samajwadi Party, from DMK, from NCP Sharad Pawar, from Uddhav Thackeray's Shiv Sena. And, if you look at the larger, and of course, the TMC has also said that they will support the India Alliance. So I think, Arvind Kejriwal's party, why are we forgetting AAP? AAP has a big play here as well. So, if you look at the team as a whole, there is a lot of talent. But you want to force me into a corner, and I'm, me, I love to bite a bullet and never run away from a challenge. You will say, yeah, Jha, after all this, is still trying to give me that politically correct answer by not giving me a name. I feel for all practical purposes, the front runner could be Mr. Kharge. One, because he is a veteran in politics. He has experience at the ground level. He is somebody who is, I think, respected by one and all. He's a very reasonable voice of the entire opposition. And despite his age, right, he's been extraordinary in the way he's fought this election. He's shown energy, vigor. And I think all the other opposition parties will be very happy with him. I think Rahul's done a great job. But we'll have to wait and see where it goes. But I do believe that there are no shortage of options.
Mr. Modi in a speech sometime back stated that Congress agar aayi, India agar alliance agar aaya, ye 5 saal mein 5 pradhanmantri banayenge. I don't know whether it's good or bad. I am not a political commentator on this particular aspect, but I don't think it's like we have never experimented with that kind of a model. Do you think from a more macro perspective that's going to work if it can be put into action, and if it is there, it will work?
Let me tell you, Mr. Modi, Mr. Modi is basically taking pot shots. And, his party and he himself very often has said that the opposition is like a khichdi. Now, my response to that, I've said it publicly and I'll say so again on your show. Mr. Modi is completely wrong. And I'll give you two analogies here. Number one, that a khichdi actually is it's a dish that is eaten all over the country. And it is a dish that is eaten when you are feeling in a great state of mind. It's eaten when you are unwell as well. Very popular dish. Usme bhat hai, dal hai, सब्जियां हैं, उसमें आप घी डालिए, अचार लीजिए, है ना, चटनी लीजिए, थोड़ा सलाद ले लीजिए. People even have dahi with it. So I'm just going to tell you, khichdi actually, come to think of it, is a popular dish. You should never make fun of it. I mean, if Mr. Modi wants, he can have a dhokla for breakfast, for lunch, for an evening snack, and for dinner. He's fine. I mean, nobody will object to Mr. Modi having a dhokla. But the larger point is that a khichdi has delivered better than the NDA government. The UPA, if it was called a khichdi by Mr. Modi and the BJP, that coalition has delivered higher GDP growth rate, lifted more people out of poverty, hasn't threatened the constitution, and hasn't pushed the farmers to the brink. I mean, this is the truth. People tend to say, a lot of people will tell you, in Mumbai where I live, especially these investment bankers and stock market types, India needs stability, and we want just one party in government otherwise. I'm like, guy, chill, man, bro. Let me just give you some stats. The stats is that the coalition governments have delivered better. In fact, Mr. Modi, when he mocks the khichdi, he actually mocks Atal Bihari Vajpayee's government. And let me tell you, while I've been critical of BJP very often, and I am, Mr. Vajpayee's government did take some very good decisions. And it was a government where Mr. Vajpayee tried to keep a coalition together. Whether it was his initiative with Pakistan or whether many concepts on economy. Yashwant Sinha was the finance minister. They did try and take some bold, pragmatic moves. So to run down khichdi is a bad idea. And since you mentioned 5 prime ministers in 5, I have mentioned that earlier. The people of India will prefer over 5 years to watch a Shah Rukh Khan film, a Hrithik Roshan film, a Salman Khan film, a Ranbir Kapoor film and an Aamir Khan film instead of watching just an Akshay Kumar for 5 years. So I think at the end of the day that Mr. Modi, he needs to take a deep breath and chill. Khichdi or whatever other model appears, it will be better for the country than seeing one powerful man who demonetized not just the currency but demonetized the entire country. And thereafter, as we saw when the migrants walked during the COVID, we saw what India has gone through. We saw how GST crippled the MSME sector. We saw how during the COVID second wave where the government was, we saw what happened. Okay. We saw end of day where the government was when the Adani crisis hit the ceiling. They were missing in action. So here is the truth. And when the farmers were protesting, where was Mr. Modi? So India needs a coalition government, which is more, shall we say, in needs with a very diverse and a very, in my opinion, colorful country.
Since you were mentioning about 5 superstar movies in 5 years, recently I came across the Lapata Ladies, a very small film, very like a very pal cinema kind of a film, actually crossed more views on Netflix than Animal, which is like a huge superstar film. Do we see that in politics? Can we see that in politics in the future, where like a very unknown person who may be working and slogging day in day out for the party, for the political regime of the country, he can actually climb up to become a prime minister during this course of action? Can that actually happen? Or am I being too utopic about the fact?
No, let me tell you, Aabir, a wonderful question. I think India is now embracing newness. Okay. And trust me, there will be a dark horse. There are always outliers. Who had heard of Yashasvi Jaiswal in cricket? And look at the double centuries he scored against England in Test cricket, right? Look at the number of bowlers that have emerged in IPL, right? People you haven't heard of. A Vaibhav Arora, a Ramandeep Singh, a Harshit Rana. You've seen the number of bowlers. I mean, spinners like Bishnoi. I mean, they're doing a wonderful job. And I think, what you see as a talent in IPL, you see it in films. Lapata Ladies, when it was released, it probably collected less than 1 crore in his opening of his box office day. And now everybody's talking about how great the film is, right? So I think the dynamics have changed even in politics. Arvind Kejriwal, no matter how critical we are of him, I think he changed the landscape with AAP. And today, even within parties, you'll find characters who will emerge, outliers. And I want to tell people through your channel and through your program, Aabir, India needs good young politicians who can change the game. Enough of the same old boring, substandard, third grade, absolutely uninspiring, vapid, boring, monotonous, electoral crap that we hear from our politicians. I think we need to challenge the status quo. It's very important that, politicians are not seen as those who just wear white and white while they do Handa in Kala Dhan boss. You need people who are like, more friendly, more accessible. I want to see Indian politicians who can talk on climate change. How many can do that, yeah? How many really can talk on carbon dioxide emissions? Nobody knows anything at all. I know one man who said that the old, feel more cold, but that's not climate change, it's because of age. I mean, I've heard a lot of that crap. So I think India needs to embrace a new way of thinking, expect more from our politicians. I want India to actually demand more from our public figures. Don't take crap. Don't listen to some gibberish and say, I'm okay because this man is a leader or a cabinet minister, or for that matter, even a prime minister.
My last question to you is, last time you were in my podcast and you mentioned that you and Congress are in a live-in relationship. How is the relationship panning out after months? Are you guys planning to remarry and have babies again?
Well, let me tell you, you can have babies even out of wedlock, right? But I want to say this that but
If you,
Abir, I
if you
want to
ever
tell
have
you
a
this
baby
that
with Congress, if you ever have a baby with Congress, name him Vikas. इसी बहाने शायद विकास आए.
well, I can tell you this one. I don't assume, Vikas then could be the name of even a daughter, and I have two daughters in real life. So I'm just going to say this: that end of day, I think the Congress and I are in this very passionate, intimate love affair where we have been intimately married. Then we realize that maybe we need to sort out certain issues that are creating a marital discord. But we have remained. We have been dating. We have met, in secret and in public. And I think, the rendezvous continue. And ultimately, what we have discovered, I think both the Congress and me, that, we have nowhere else to go. We have ourselves and we'll figure out a way. And I think what's more important is that we spread love together. And I think we are doing that with all the intensity and shiddat that is required.
So what you're saying is no more right swiping here and there with any random other political party.
No chance, yeah.
You are
no chance. I'm a one woman man.
Super. A very quick question, since you are from Maharashtra. Do you think that Shiv Sena, what you were talking about, Shiv Sena and NCP and two different parties, 4 different parties now, and a lot of chaos here and there, if it's going to create a dent and it won't impact the India alliance in itself?
Well, I can tell you that your question is what, that the NCP and the Shiv Sena and the Congress will make.
No, I'm not talking about Congress. I'm talking about 2 Shiv Senas, 2 NCP. They fuse again together and join the NDA. Can that actually be a possibility?
Impossible. Impossible. I can tell you, at least in the short run, no. My sense is that Uddhav Thackeray and Sharad Pawar ji are a lot more senior. They may be more accommodating. But what you saw Eknath Shinde do was a betrayal, clear betrayal. And Ajit Pawar, of course, I think has chronically been flirting with the enemy. So I really don't see any comebacks happening, because if the India alliance does well, my prediction is that Ajit Pawar's NCP and Eknath Shinde's NCP will have no choice but to merge with the BJP.
Okay. On that note, बहुत shukriya for taking out time and talking to me. It was lovely chatting up with you, and let's see what June 4th has to reveal for us.
Yup, we'll meet on June 4th, and Aabir, as usual, fantastic to be on your show, man. You're looking like a rock star, lyricist, you could be anybody. You could be a writer, you could be a philosopher, you could even be a politician.
बहुत shukriya. I'm waiting for the Nehru jacket to pop up in my wardrobe, and let's see when that's going to happen. Thank you, Sanjay Jha, for talking to us. Thank you, Sanjay.